Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, I saw something very interesting. It came across my Facebook feed. And to be honest, I was quite pleased and I was quite impressed. Today, I read a short article in regards to Tuskegee University. So apparently, Tuskegee University has enforced a dress code on the students. And just to keep it short, no bonnets. Can't wear bonnets walking around on campus. No sleeping attire, no house shoes, no pajama pants. For the men, no Durags. For the men, mandatory that you must have a suit with appropriate shoes for school events. You can't come dressed looking any old kind of way. These rules will be enforced in any university building, including the classrooms, cafeteria, and anywhere else. And apparently the professors have been given the authority to sort of enforce discipline. Now, how that looks, how that's laid down, that I don't know. I'm just sort of telling you what I read in the article. So I had a conversation with a couple black people at my job, and when I said that I was with that 100%, this other African American individual began to say, "Well, why? Why are you with it?" But then the other black people in the room, they were with it too, which made this person back down. And all of a sudden, they were with it too. And I don't mean this in a mean way or anything like that. I'm just sort of telling you what happened. The person's initial. So I'm curious what the argument would be against enforcing this dress code. I wonder what the argument would be against or raising the standard of the black students. Now, there are individuals that I know that don't like or agree with college. They see college as a waste of time. They see college as a waste of money, waste of resources, that you can go do other things that are more productive and more meaningful. To those people, I say, you don't understand the entire purpose of higher education and academia. There's an American sociologist. His name is Robert K. Merton. Robert K. Merton. You can look him up. And he has a theory about manifest function and latent function. That everything has a manifest function and everything has a latent function. So the manifest function of something is the obvious. It's the obvious intended purpose of something. So what's the obvious vocalized intention behind education, behind college? Is to, one, earn a degree that hopefully translates into employment, to gain expertise in whatever field of endeavor that this person decides to embark upon, to gain some level of knowledge, to become exposed to varying ideas. Okay, that's the manifest function. What's the latent function? Now, textbook latent function, says things like you may meet your mate there. You don't go to college to meet your husband or wife, but because you're both in the same university, you very well may meet your mate. Most universities have childcare or babysitting for students. So, a latent product could be that you have childcare maybe at a lesser rate. Another latent function could be gaining new friends, a new friend circle, maybe a different cultural friend circle. You don't go to college for that, but because you are exposed to that, you now, sort of embrace that. Now, a latent function can have a positive and a negative outcome. But I want to look at the positive outcome of some of the latent functions of higher education, especially in regards to Black people. Higher education should polish you. It should polish you. It should expand your vocabulary, because expanded vocabulary is a sign of the level of intelligence or smarts or training of a person. Some people would say, nah, that's not true. It is. It is. Expanded vocabulary is a sign of study. It's a sign of spending time in the books for the most part. Expanded vocabulary. And that does come with college, because you are exposed to different jargon, different applications of words that maybe you didn't know. You may find that a word or something has multiple applications across varying industries or sciences that the average person who's not educated won't know. So education, and higher education in particular, should polish you. It should. And it should expand your vocabulary. Again, these are latent products, what I consider to be latent functions or latent products of higher education. Not to mention, depending upon what you study, you should learn critical thought. You should. For many, that's a latent product, critical thought. Analytical thought, how to analyze something critically, how to look at something through a discerning eye, versus a person who may not have that training. So when we look at those who are educated versus those that aren't, and remember, I'm not putting a value on the individual. I'm not saying that person is better as a person. I'm saying, from a societal perspective, that education there should be a distinction. You should be able to tell normally between a person who's educated and been to school versus a person who doesn't necessarily have that level of training. Now, I've gone to many a career fair, and this is sort of my case in point. And then I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked one of my coworkers. For the job that I was doing, I was required to go to career fairs. I would go to these career fairs, and it was mainly urban. Okay. The females, mainly African American, would come in, bonnets on their head, Daisy Dukes on, revealing provocative clothing, body parts hanging out. The dudes would come smelling like weed. The girls would come smelling like weed. Lil Wayne t-shirts, Ice Cube t-shirts on, sagging jeans, not looking presentable for a professional experience or a professional situation, a situation where you're coming looking for employment. Why are you at a career fair if you're not looking for employment? Right? So I'm not saying that to disparage these people, but after having seen this time and time and time again, I learned they don't know any better. They've never been taught the etiquette of the professional environment. They've never been taught that. They don't know not to come smelling like weed. They don't know not to come wearing Daisy Dukes. They don't know not to come, with, wife beaters on, little tank top t-shirts and things like this. And when you see it time and time and time and time and time again, it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. See, there's a difference between a coincidence and a pattern. There's a difference between a pattern and an outlier. An outlier is the one brother that I would see sometimes who would come in a shirt and tie and his shoes were polished. And then after I would approach him, and I'm telling you, this is something that happened, sparked a conversation with him, finds out he has a master's degree. He was down there, applying. He stood out just aesthetically, in demeanor, in conversation. He stood out from the uneducated. And I remember there was a woman who represented a company, and she used to come down to these career fairs. And one day she was leaning against the wall, and I came from the back way. Like I said, I'd had conversations with her in the past, and I asked her, I said, "How's it going?" And she just shook her head. I said, "The fishing's not good today?" And she said this. She said, "At this point, I would hire somebody if they took a shower before they came to this event." She said, that's where the bar is right now. I would consider hiring somebody if they took a shower before they came. That's how low the bar is. So back to education. For those people who don't think education, and when I say education, I mean academia, is not that important or less valuable, I want you to look at the latent product or the latent function of education. Don't just look at the manifest and think that's the entire picture. There's a whole different hidden, there is a hidden, I don't want to say agenda, but there's a hidden aspect of academia. And once you've been in academia at a higher level, you recognize it when you see it. You recognize it when you hear it. You can tell. So hats off to Tuskegee University for enforcing this higher standard of presentation. Oh, I told you, or I mentioned before, that I was going to ask a question that I asked to one of my coworkers today. Most of the people, the African Americans who go to these HBCUs, view them as a safe space. They view it as a place that they can be themselves. They can be comfortable. We can use our colloquial language. We can dress the way we dress, talk the way we talk about issues that are important to us, and not be looked at as weird or strange or extreme because it's a safe space. So I wonder if the women and the men who were dressing in these fashions with the durags and the bonnets and the pajama pants and the house shoes and the beaters and all that, going to classrooms and going to academic functions, I wonder if it was just because they viewed that place as a safe space, but would know better and not do it in another situation that would be a situation where you would have to code switch. For those of you who understand this term, I don't want to get too far into that. But when you're in that professional setting and you're in that setting outside of that safe space, most of the time you got to code switch. And it becomes natural with us if you know how to do it. If you know how to do it. Not everybody knows how to code switch. But I would say code switching comes with some level of exposure and education and academics, exposure to other cultures, knowing history, knowing how to navigate whatever situation that you're in, where you are not the dominant culture, you're not the dominant force, but it's something outside of you. It's someone else, somebody else that has the power or is pulling the strings. You got a code switch. It is what it is. The same way you talk to your supervisor is not going to be the same way you talk to your boy. If you're on the block or you just talking to one of the homies or talking to one of your girls or whatever. Got a code switch. And I do believe that comes with education. But my question is, do you think that these people who are in these academic universities, do you think that they dress that way because, number one, it's comfortable. I'm sure it's comfortable. And they consider it a safe space, but wouldn't do it in another situation where it wasn't a safe space. Would they still do it? And if the answer is no, then that tells you that something within their academic or educational journey taught them that, versus those who choose not to go to college or aren't fortunate enough to be able to get to college. These types of latent functions can be passed down. If your parents are educated, they're probably going to pass that information down to you before you even hit the university or before you even hit that place of business. Don't wear durags. Don't have a mouthful of gold teeth. Don't walk in wearing chunky jewelry and being iced out and, do that on your own time. I mean, if that's how you rock, that's how you rock. I'm not hating on somebody that rocks like that. Do your thing. But there's a time and a place for everything. And education and academics, I think, polishes that aspect of a person's understanding of what's appropriate, time and place, when you should and when you shouldn't do something. That, to me, comes from academics. It comes from cultural exposure. It comes to being exposed to other ideas and understanding also societal standards. There is something to be said for societal standards because all of us have to navigate in this society, no matter how bad we may want to separate or, fight the power. Trust me, I understand all that. But at the end of the day, you have to navigate. And you want to navigate and you want to maximize that navigation. So you do that through moving clean, moving polished, moving intelligently, being articulate, knowing when to use slang, when not to use slang, understanding and reading the room, knowing who your audience is. And you, because of the exposure in the academic or in academia, the exposure to different people, different groups, different experiences, different, cultures from different countries, you learn what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's good, what's not good. You learn that, and that comes with that academic experience and that academic exposure. So again, hats off to Tuskegee University. I salute you. I'm glad you raised the standard, and I hope that these other HBCUs take the hint and move forward with the same type of, the same kinds of policies, because nothing but good can really come from these policies. I can't think of one thing negative that would come from these policies. The academic battleground is a dress rehearsal for when you have to go get it in the real world. Just like in the military, you train before the war. And how you train, I learned this in martial arts. The way you train is the way you fight. The way you train is the way you fight. So you have to know when something is appropriate and when something is not appropriate, and not making assumptions, and know when you're training. When you step out of that classroom, one of the people that I was talking about, they said, look, when I was in college, I had 8 o'clock classes, and these 8 o'clock classes, whatever. I wore my pajamas because it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, you get here at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you don't wear pajamas here. And that shut the conversation down. So you're picking and choosing when and where to do that kind of stuff. You come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. What's the excuse? You're not wearing pajama pants or a bonnet then. Why would you do that going to class? You're in training. I do understand being comfortable. I do understand that. But we also have to understand oftentimes, sometimes you have to do things twice as good to get half as far. Sometimes you have to do it cleaner and better. And oftentimes that's a honed skill. It's a honed skill to know how to do it cleaner and better and do it twice as good. So hopefully this gives those who are not fans of college, not fans of academia, some food for thought and something else to think about. Remember, look up if you're interested in it, Robert K. Merton's manifest function versus latent function. That's where I am deriving the information that I'm giving you. School serves more than just one purpose. It's not just academics and books and learning, but there is an increase in cultural and social capital, which I really should have mentioned earlier. Your social capital and your cultural capital increase in the university if you take the time to do that. If you're not familiar with these terms, social capital and cultural capital, give it a Google. Type in sociological or sociology, social capital and cultural capital. Sometimes you'll find that terms will have variances in definition between like sociology and anthropology and some of the other different humanities and human sciences. There'll be variation in definition, but I'm coming from a sociological perspective. So look up social capital and cultural capital. Both of those increase through college. And I'm not saying that's the only way, but it is a latent product, a latent function of going to a 4-year university and, completing. So with that said, I look forward to comments, and I'm sure there's going to be some who don't agree. I love and I look forward to your comments. And for those who agree, that Tuskegee University, the HBCU down in, I believe they're Alabama, Tuskegee, Alabama, I think they did the right thing. I hope they set the standard for the other universities to take the example and hold their African American students to a higher standard. And may Allah bless everyone and take care of your families. And I will see you later. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.